I couldn't help but look at my life, and my recovery wasn't guaranteed. And so,
whoa,
yeah. So imagine looking.
All right, what's going on, everyone? You're watching Emeroy TV or Vision Paradox TV, or you might be listening to this on Spotify or iTunes as a podcast format. Today we have Galit, the G Friedlander.
I like how you added the to G.
The G. But I've known her since 2016, for a while.
But I think it was like before 2000. I think it was through Antics. I think that was 2015.
Was it?
It had to have been more.
Yeah, wow. Time flies.
I know.
Yeah, and just a quick heads up, this podcast is very open format. Whatever pops up in terms of my curiosity, I'm going to ask her, like her client that we were talking about earlier, whose name shall be unknown. But yeah, so Galit, I know her through Antics. She's one of the amazing choreographers and professional trainers around the NoHo area, and she'll work with you across the East Coast. She's an amazing, dedicated fitness instructor, and I think she also works with the LA Sparks. Names.
Oh, so it's called the Sparkids.
There you go.
They're an official dance team for the WNBA LA Sparks.
Yeah.
Women's basketball team.
Yeah. So let the crowd know a little bit about you and your origin story and your credits and your social security number.
So my whole life.
Yeah.
Do I stare at the camera?
We can talk this way.
Or do I forget the camera? Okay.
Well, this is generally how I do it. Like, we generally do this, but if you want to make a point, say you're gonna shout someone out, hey,
shout out to my mom. You gave birth to me.
There we go, like that. Shouts out to mom.
Edna. Okay, so kind of who I am, where I'm from, and what I do.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a lot. Please. Okay, so I'll give the very distilled version, but if there's anything that you'd like me to elaborate on, I will.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm born and raised in New York City, and I moved to Los Angeles 12 years ago. And so I like to say, in terms of dance, born, raised, and trained mostly in New York.
Damn.
Yeah,
Manhattan?
I used to go to the club,
city?
Manhattan,
Damn.
also known as Manhattan.
Ooh.
But also known as Manhattan. So I trained in theater, and it was crazy. I went to Performing Arts High School. It's known as the Fame School because it had a movie and series based off of it.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Okay, I was like, is that the legit name? But it's because of the movie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay.
And I went, LaGuardia, and I studied in theater. So I did 4 periods a day of theater for 4 years.
Wow, that sounds like a dream for theater kids.
It was, and I was also a miserable high school student. I felt like I didn't fit in with the kids who don't fit in.
So you were the outcast of the outcast?
Yes.
Wow.
They knew I wasn't their type of weird. I was weird to them.
Go back to the regular kids.
But there were none, and I wasn't regular either. So I would do that, and then I would train in dance after school. And then, I was sitting on my mic. Oops. So yeah, so I went out to LA, actually transferred to college out here, got a degree in communication. And I share that because I feel like I was wondering so heavily, how am I going to integrate going to school with my journey in the arts? So I did that, graduated, and then spent time. I was like, okay, I'm going to be a professional dancer now. And was like, fuck, there's no path really, or at least then clear trajectory if you're doing more hip hop and stuff.
Yeah.
To the industry.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, and personal training started when I was 14. I was 15, and I had been dancing for a couple years, and I wanted to get better as fast as possible. And I learned that if you do the proper physical training outside of dance, you're going to be a better dancer. And so I started with a personal trainer, me and my friend who's a ballerina. I split that. It was crazy how we made it work. And so I just got really curious about training. And so that was a seed that was planted, and I always was showing people exercises, and I was made fun of it for high school. They're like, yeah, show me how to get abs.
Oh, God.
They were, because I was geeking out about it, and they were like, yeah, show me that dance move again.
You were really into it in a young age.
Yeah.
Wow. Because right now, because of the whole Instagram thing, I felt like everyone's becoming a personal trainer. But you've been in it before it was actually in.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy that if it's healthy, then I'm happy for more people to be in that. I feel like we need motivation. But I definitely organically got into it. And then in Los Angeles, long story short, I basically connected with a gym owner, started teaching a dance class at his gym, and then realized like people don't want to dance in this gym. They just want abs. So I created an abs class, started shadowing him as a trainer, and then got certified and started taking on clients. So there's that. So I'm a certified personal trainer. I've been teaching dance for over a decade. I started assisting when I was 16. So I'm about to be 32. I'm into sharing age. Sometimes I like not to. Because I don't want to be pigeonholed. You are?
Yeah.
Dang. You thought I was older than you? Dang.
Yeah, well, because you look 8. No, I'm just kidding. Because you have more of a mature spirit compared to a lot of my contemporaries.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've gotten both. So I'm so self-conscious about over-speaking about myself, but I realize this is an interview.
This is you. Yeah, one thing I failed to mention, she does have her own podcast called Dancespeak Podcast. Make sure you go check it out. So she is normally the one asking the questions. Now it's my turn. I'm flipping it because I actually did this podcast way back in the day. And now it's kind of fun to be back here, but kind of asking you the questions.
It's fun for me.
So you can expand as often as long as you can fit in an hour.
Okay.
Because I know you gotta schedule.
Totally. So I pursued dance as a professional dancer. I was also choreographing. Yes, this is all simultaneously. I really enjoy wearing different hats, and they lend to one another. And so I've taught at a bunch of different studios. I've gotten to guest teach at Broadway Dance Center. I sub regularly at Movement Lifestyle. And then there's a list, and I'm proud of the work that I've put in as a teacher. It's interesting because I feel like I need to lead with, like, I assisted and choreographed for Prince back in the day, and I have some fun names on my resume. And it's interesting because I feel like I need to lead with that, but really what I'm proud of when I teach is my background teaching. And then I created the Dancespeak Podcast, available on iTunes and Google Play Music. And we have a few episodes up on YouTube if you look up Dancespeak, so some peppered in. But as much as I love the visuals, I know I won't get it done, so big props to you if we film it, because the team is like me and Dakota who helps upload it. And then we've had people help out over the years. But Dancespeak, I created because after being in the dance world and hitting like the 15-year mark, I was finally getting to be in rooms with people that were the ones that do the hiring and that have really been in it. And when I heard the gems that they shared, I was like, this can't end with me. And then also adding the human personal connection to this industry, which is so much about like appearances.
Oh, yeah.
So... yeah,
I think that's something. I get some DMs about people who are not from LA, and I've filmed something of me actually answering them. I haven't shared it yet, but they're asking like what to expect moving here, what are the auditions like, and then they ask like, is it normal that you have to get a regular job while you're doing this, and like that is the reality.
There's so many. I'm obsessed with that question because there's so many different answers to it and ways to look at it. And if that doesn't take away from anything you're doing, I would recommend put them even in touch with me, and I can definitely contribute. And there are so many episodes where I ask people that I've like made it what their view on side jobs are. And even do you know Craig Holloman?
No, sorry.
No, it's all good. So him and Lindsay B work together a lot, and he does. I'm blanking out on names, but he does, I consider, high-end choreography jobs and a lot of industrials, and basically like gets hired by big companies and artists and all this stuff. And in his interview in 2017, at least, he was talking about how like he happily drives for Lyft because you don't know when the next job is, and he enjoys doing it. Like, he's such a real person. He likes meeting those other people in the car. Yeah. But he'll do like a job for Mac choreographing. Wow. Yeah. So it's like, it's really, being okay to live that, to be humble with it, or to go have a side gig, or actually have that, because our industry, that dance industry, is not like a consistent thing where you show up to the office and you have a set of tasks to get done and then you clock out. It's more like, here's the length of the project. Once it's done, it's done. But I've also known people who refuse to get a backup job and say, if you have a plan B, you're preparing to fail, which my whole thing is like, if you can make it work with what your viewpoint is or wholeheartedly test it out, awesome. I knew that I don't feel good like crashing on people's couches and not putting it down, but I always need to be financially independent. And for me, that just means I need to pay my own bills and be in a home that I'm comfortable in. And so knowing that I needed that, it was a no-brainer that I'm gonna have income no matter what. Yeah. But I know other people that they like, at least it seems like they can live out of their duffel bag and are not afraid to ask friends to crash at their home if they don't have a place to sleep.
I can definitely relate more on needing the income while building this, because having that feeling of scarcity of like not being able to pay the bills because you're all in on one thing is scary.
Yeah.
So, and it kind of for me, from my past experiences, like my demeanor changes because I feel more desperate to try to get things because I need it to pay rent.
Also, it's important to me to always have health coverage, to eat healthy food, to have a lifestyle that I'm comfortable in, because I used to feel like this, but I don't feel like my life is going to happen one day in the future. It's happening right now. Yeah. So in the right now, how do I want to feel and what do I want my experience of life to be like?
That's definitely one thing that not a lot of people consider, because I almost feel like a lot of people are always trying to be like, I want to get the thing that's not here yet. And it's hard to, not a lot of people are appreciating the process that they're in. One thing I always, because you did mention that you were in theater a lot. How did you get into, what was the first style of dance you started doing?
Okay.
Like, how did you get into eventually doing hip hop?
So aside from that 1 year of ballet I did when I was 6, I woke up one morning. I remember this morning vividly. I was 12, almost 13, and I asked my mom why I never went back to dance after I quit when I was 6. I had quit because my teacher, Danny, was awesome, and she moved away, and the new teacher was boring to me, so I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And so I wake up 6 years later, and I asked my mom, like, but why didn't I go back? And she didn't know, and I didn't know. Isn't that crazy? It just popped into my head. And so that was how I got back. And I took a jazz class, because I think that just sounded exciting and it was on the schedule of the nearby studio. And then I always wanted to do hip hop, but it wasn't. And when I thought of hip hop, I thought more of breakdancing, but it wasn't widely taught in studios yet. It was still more underground. That's true, yeah. So I had it in my mind, and I think it was just when I started dancing, I fell in love with everything. I was taking jazz, and I took ballet to get better at jazz, and then the same studio had an open hip-hop class. So I took the open hip-hop class and loved it. And this teacher, thank God, she was teaching foundations. Oh, hey. And teaching us also about popping and locking and soul train. Wow. And, I know there's a funk styles, but the different styles that lend themselves to the street culture and where each one is in relation to the other. And I started taking breaking, even though I wish I knew how to break dance, but it was just immediately within a year I was hooked to everything. Wow. I'm curious, on your first year here, what led the decision actually to come here first? Oh my God, I love that question. Being in theater, being in acting and dancing, I always heard about LA, especially from professionals who had done well, because in my senior acting class in high school, we had professionals who had really done well come to us and talk to us, and these classes really impacted me greatly. And they always talked about LA. So I had this seed in my mind, like, I'm gonna need to figure out how to get to Los Angeles for a week to see what it's like out there. So there's that seed in my head, and I was in my first year of college, small liberal arts in Baltimore, in the suburbs, great school. I didn't realize that growing up in New York, I was used to being around so much diversity and stimulation and stuff. Yeah. And so I remember being like, I need a big experience of college. I had gone to my third week of school. I had gone to a University of Maryland party, and there was like men. It wasn't an all-girls school, but my school had been an all-girls school in the past. And the ratio was like 4 guys to every woman. College, it's the same ratio. I'm like, I need to be around men. Oh my God. Not saying anything down about guys in the arts. Yeah, I was like, And so I realized I'm bored. And my friends even saw it. My friends even saw it in my face. They knew I was gone. I was going to transfer after going to that. It was like a pajama jam at University of Maryland. And or was it Towson? Okay, whatever. I think it was University of Maryland. And so I'm applying to schools because how amazing is it that I have access to this? But my family, they're like, if you want to transfer, you just have to do it yourself and make it work. And so I realized as I was sitting bored in my room in Maryland, I had wanted to be within 3 hours of New York, but I realized I could be bored in a room anywhere in the world. So I applied to a few different schools. And one of the schools I got into was USC, which is in LA, University of Southern California. Yeah. And I'm sharing the details because I feel like life tends to work out in a really funny way. Like if I wasn't miserable at my first school, I wouldn't have probably come out here ever. It was between going to Atlanta to Emory or University of Southern California. I know how entitled I sound. And at that time, we're going to get more entitled. I went on Birthright, free trip to Israel if you have, a Jewish background at all. And everyone on my trip was like pretty awful. We had a bad group. They were super entitled. It was just my group. Like the tour guide and everything was like, your group is the worst. And my one friend in the group that wasn't cliquish and was nice was from LA. He was the only one from LA. And every day he would tell me how great USC was. So I ended up going to USC, deciding that I wanted to have an experience of Los Angeles without feeling like I needed to make it work.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Is my extended story.
I like that you're sharing it because now it's documented and you can share it with your grandkids.
Oh, grandkids. That means I'll have kids. Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming that you want kids.
I do want kids.
You did.
Yeah, so I went, I got my degree there. I remember my first day at school. It's August, 80 degrees. I've never seen so many blonde people in my life. Never seen so many skateboards.
Oh, yeah.
I felt like I was in Saved by the Bell. And I had long jeans, like tight jeans and Jordans.
Wait, what year was this?
This is 2007, fall of 2007. Oh my God,
okay. Now I'm trying to get context of what the fashion is.
Yeah, it was, I just had never, and I was just like, oh, fuck, I'm hot. And hot. And oh my God, Saved by the Bell. And what is this alternate universe that I've crawled into?
Alternate universe. So throughout your whole college experience, were you at the same time pursuing dance or were you just all in at college at the time?
Oh man, I was thinking about college today because, and I'm answering your question within this. I was like, I always spread myself so thin. I don't know that I was able to fully enjoy anything. Because I had transferred, there are all these extra credits I had to take. I had a full credit load because I wanted to do as much as possible.
Yeah.
And so
I did that a lot.
And I felt like I lost a part of myself. It wasn't bad. I was having the best time and it was good for my development, but my dance self, I wasn't getting fully fed. And so I joined a dance crew on campus, and then the next year I was like, I want to create my own because I'm not finding here what I want fully. Mm-hmm. So I created a dance crew, USC recognized organization, and I would sometimes get a friend to drive me to class in Hollywood or North Hollywood. So I founded Outrage. I learned so much through those experiences because I needed to ask for help. It was community coming together because I couldn't do it on my own. Yeah. And I was in charge, and I didn't think anything of it taking on that leadership, but for better and for worse. It was that year I was an RA, which means I was an RA in the most intense area of campus to be one, where you create programming and you're basically like a live-in nanny.
Oh, wow.
for student housing. I was working a job tutoring athletes. I was teaching a dance class. I had Outrage, and then I had a full course load.
So you
Did I answer your question? I forgot what it was.
Well, I'm just I was really just asking how, if you were able to pursue your passion in dance or career in dance while you're doing in USC.
I know someone who did. Oh, her name is Brandy, and I'm forgetting her last name. She was before me, and she was able to. I couldn't imagine that. I didn't even know how to drive yet.
Oh yeah, because you lived.
Yeah.
You lived in New York, so you didn't have to worry about
In the longer run, I find that all of these things weren't trivial, and I learned things and built skills in all these different scenarios. I've continued to take on things in leadership, and leadership has always worked better for me and felt more within my purpose than purely being the dancer. And so the things that I learned, I threw myself into having an organization and dance crew on campus, and when things worked, I got props, but kind of you get in this bubble sometimes when you create something where the people around you get to communicate around it, but people don't talk to you as much about it. Same thing with the podcast. Yeah. People will usually get more feedback who've done it as a guest than me who hosts it. And it's just, I'm saying it's you just don't know. I
noticed that, yeah.
You just don't know, does anyone watch this, whatever. But it was very nice. And then also when things didn't go so well with the dancers, it was like raw, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after USC, when did you actually start pursuing dance?
I think it was,
Like,
oh
as a
yeah,
career?
it was right pursuing dance. And I say that because I was figuring out what to do. I'm a senior in college, and I'm home for spring break, and I decided, it was my mom who was like, honey, maybe just make a decision, try something, because I didn't know if I was going to go get a 9-to-5, do Teach for America, where you teach for a school in need for a couple of years. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do, and my mom said, you've been talking about dance for a really long time, maybe this is, you know, like, if you don't do it now, you're not going to do it. So I chose to do it. Oh my gosh, so cool. And it was the same thing really also with going to California. Like, you've been talking about LA for a long time. I don't want you to go across the country, but if it's going to fulfill something for you, do it.
That's cool.
So yeah, I'm really fortunate. And this whole episode.
A lot of Filipino parents would have told Filipino kids, at least growing up for me, that dance is a waste of time. It's just a hobby or something for fun, and it's not something you can pursue realistically.
Okay, a little bit more background. I know. So it's so common to have that. Mm-hmm. My mom pursued a career teaching piano and giving master classes and all these things. So she also doesn't have like a reasonable.
Yeah. So she gets
Oh
it.
yeah, so she can't talk. So she just said, like, as long as you're paying your bills, go follow your dreams.
Yeah.
Just pay your bills. And so I made the decision, and then I graduated college. And here's one thing that no one talks about that I wish I had been given a warning about. When you graduate college, sometimes you're drained from like those 13 years of schooling plus preschool. I was in a, not clinically, but I was in a depression. I was in a funk. I watched Lifetime that whole summer. I watched Grey's Anatomy and one other show. I went through the whole series up to that date. And I didn't know where to start. Plus, like, I didn't know what to do with myself. Plus, I was exhausted. So
it's so 13 years of being in a structure. Now you're out on your own, you got to figure it out on your own.
Yeah, and college can be stressful.
And yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, and then now that the gas is off or the pressure's gone, it can be pretty exhausting. So, and I think that's one thing that should be okay for a lot of people. That when you're tired, like when you after especially taking on a whole lot of work, especially with what you were doing, it makes sense that there has to be a rest period before going back. And I think, especially now, because the whole social media, everyone is presenting that they've made it. I feel like there's a lot more pressure to quote unquote make it.
So interesting.
And I think that's one thing, because for me, when I was younger, I think 16, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be married by 21. So, but then 21 happened. I'm like, I'm working at an animation studio, but completely different. Awesome. But it's one thing to keep in mind is like the thing you want isn't always going to come at the timeline you expect, because it's one of my favorite lessons that I got from my teacher was like, however long you think it's going to take, triple that, because life will reward you, quote unquote, when it sees fit, not when you see fit.
Yes. And are you willing to put in those years without the returns? And so with dancing at the same time, and I don't know exactly what the ratio of lifetime versus like taking class was, but I was going to the studios, I was taking dance class, I was going out to dance events, I was figuring out how to get an agent. Like, I was also figuring out how to.
Did you ever have an agent?
I did. I don't even know if the agency's still around.
Was it DDO?
No, it was Trio.
Oh no.
Maybe they're around for commercial, but Trio, and then I had a commercial agent. Yeah.
You're just representing yourself now, huh?
I'm repping for myself.
Damn, see?
The G.
I think the G, that's her logo. What do you call it? That's one thing that I think a lot of dancers think they need is agents to get the work.
It serves something, but it's not needed.
I've never had an agent.
Awesome.
I've just been blessed to have friends to book me.
Aww.
So, and then power of networking right there. So when you go to auditions, make friends with everyone, because you never know who's going to book you for the next thing, or who makes it and then they book you. Yeah, that's why I think but for the longest time I thought I needed to have an agent, and then when I had friends who made it further along and they brought me along, I was like, oh, okay, as long as I am not a dick and I perform well and maintain relationships, it's not really needed. but it's a tool, so to speak, to help build your, I guess, put yourself out there, so to speak.
I think it's really easy to look at it backwards and look at the constructions that the industry have before how we are as humans. Meaning, like looking at, I need an agent to get a job. Agencies were invented to help funnel jobs, help negotiate contracts, and get you to auditions that you might not be able to get to yourself, right? But before then, do you know what I mean? Like, you still had dance industry and jobs that needed to be booked.
Yeah.
And so I think that agencies can serve that, especially if you're a strong auditioner, especially if you want access to the things and auditions that the agency provides. Especially, you know, it can be a great entity to work in conjunction with. However, if you look as humans, like, if you are working on your craft, if you are connecting with other people, and then also if you have good energy, because I looked at people that I knew that are super talented that would always be like, I'm not getting booked, man, and blah, blah, blah. And I wondered, like, what is it about this really talented person who crushes it? For me, the thing that I pinpointed in common was that they started having a dark cloud over their head. Not that you can't be negative, but, like, I don't know that's an energy that somebody would want to bring on set.
Yeah, because then it becomes like a cancer that kind of affects the whole production. One of my favorite things, like, learning from art school is, like, you can be the most talented guy in the room, but if you're a dick, you know, no one's going to want to work with you. And
then also, like, being entitled to something coming your way versus making it happen. Like, if you want to go and be in a music video for a certain artist and it's not happening and it's not moving, work on the style of dance you need, create your own content that's in line with that. Like, don't expect someone to push your career for you.
Oh, yeah. That's almost like watching someone else do push-ups and then expect you to get the results.
Yeah, that's a good one. And also, like, with fitness, you need to put in the work, and then you need to strategize. If something's not working for you, you try a different approach.
Oh, yeah.
You look at it holistically, and then the proof is in the pudding. And also, wait, one more thing, because do you have dancers watch this?
This is, yeah.
Cool. So you have so many dancers in LA, and another thing is that, let's say that you're killing it and crushing it. It doesn't mean you can't make it right away, but let's say in a room with 200 other faces, or even 50, feeling like, okay, I crushed it, I should have been booked. I understand that feeling, but you don't know if 50 people around you have been in those audition rooms for 5 years more than you.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about continuously showing up.
Yeah, because Shaboob's a mutual friend of ours. We were just talking about, you guys might have already heard the other podcast, but he talks about auditioning for certain things 3, 4, 5 times before actually making it. And I think that's the first rejection for a lot of people, is where a lot of people quit. And it's getting used to the fact that you're going to get no's a lot. And then it's being able to plow through that to get to the one yes.
And it's okay to also not be okay with it and not to pursue it in that way. Like, for me, pursuing dance in the traditional way for a professional dancer, I came to this really difficult term of, dang, this is really not how I want to spend hours of my life.
That's how I felt when going through 2 auditions. It might be worth it for some people. For me, I just wanted to do something else. And it's okay. I think having that realization and being okay with that, it takes a lot to kind of let that part of the dream go, I guess. Yeah,
it was so hard too. And the only way that happened was, long story short, and I have an episode where I talk about this on Dancespeak, plugging. Okay. But I had Lyme's disease.
It'll be in the link in the description, so you guys can listen to it.
I had Lyme's disease, and do you know about...
Yeah, I know about it.
Okay, cool. So basically you get bit by a tick or something that has it, and then you can get a host of symptoms ranging from psychosis to exhaustion to joint pain.
Oh, I don't know about the psychosis.
It can change your mind.
I'm just kidding.
I was extremely fatigued, and without going into it because of time and stuff, I was knocked out. There was a month where I was in bed more than half of the day, and if I even had a conversation with someone, I'd be so exhausted I'd have to sleep.
Wow.
And so in that time, I was knocked out, and I had the opportunity. I couldn't help but look at my life, and my recovery wasn't guaranteed. And so,
whoa.
Yeah. So imagine looking at your life, and I had been auditioning, I'd been doing dance work, all this stuff, and I realized the thing that I'd be really sad about not coming back to is dance itself as an art form and movement. However, all of that time that I was spending in the audition process, I was not listening to my inner compass, which was telling me like, you have a different path to go. And I felt like a rat in a rat race, and I didn't want to feel that way anymore. And you're not that if you audition. It's just, for me, I have a different trajectory and path. So hard to accept, but I had a shortcut to it because I was so sick that I could actually sit back and look at my life.
Oh, you had the opportunity to take a step back and see what's happening on the field and kind of change things up. Yeah, I think it's, especially since it is more the common path, like choosing something different is, being a little further back, it was a lot harder. I feel like it's much more common now with social media. Anyone can become a personal brand and kind of become get booked as doing choreography. Or I loved teaching, but I also wanted to take it to a level where I can teach online. So I have an online course, which is one of the ways I make income from dancing. So there's a lot of ways to make money off what you love. I think my favorite quote from Tony Robbins is like, be attached to the goal, but be flexible in how you get there.
Yes. That's all. Yeah, because it's like, what is it about your goal that you feel? I've asked myself that a lot. What is it about it that has you want it?
Yeah.
And so, like, after being sick and stuff, I went back into acting and started with commercial agent and this and that. And it was like, well, what do I like about it? I like the play. I like the self-expression. Okay, can you get that in another way that feels even better to you? The answer was yes.
One thing that I always love with our conversations is we always get into the topic of mindset. We always like share resources of who we're listening to. I was just geeking out the fact that you have Ramit Sethi's new I Will Teach You to Be Rich, and his method of handling finances is like changed my life.
Dang. Okay, so now I'll really keep on reading it.
Yeah, his whole perspective on automation. Majority of my finances are automated, so I never have to think about. I just know there's a certain amount I have to hit each month, but then I'm good.
That's amazing. And also, like, the way, to me, you're very into, I call it like lifestyle, and I personally, but lifestyle, having it all work, career, empowering others, and the avenues that you've built. I don't know if you'd have the same time to do it if you were pursuing dance the way everyone else is.
No, I really don't think I would.
There's probably a reason why you felt pulled in another direction, because I think you're of greater contribution this way.
Oh, I appreciate that. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I take a look at my friends who are out there training, taking classes. I'm like, man, I feel like I should be doing that and continuing improving my craft in that sense. But then I take classes and I'm like, I'm not driven.
It's great. Yeah, the shoulds. I like Christina Shipp, who I interviewed. She always says, don't let life should on you. And whenever I get into the shoulds, I ask myself, like, okay, for real, because I can live my life differently. Yeah. Do I really want to take on what I think I want to take on?
Yeah, it's the comparison trap.
Oh my, and I do it all the time. Now it's more with like relationships, and I hate to admit it, but like relationships, like I'll see like, people I used to date, and I'm like, oh, they're engaged. It's so good for them. I'm so happy for them. But also, what's wrong with me?
I should be engaged right now. I should be happily. I should be on a honeymoon in Bali.
So it looks like sometimes it's with career. I go into that whole. Lately, it's been more with that.
Yeah, I hear you. Like I see my friends like buying houses.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah, it's like wow. Like. They're making that nurse money though, but yeah. But
the metrics that we're using to compare ourselves oh my god, it sounds so trivial. The metrics we are using to compare ourselves are like we could be comparing, based on our socks. Like, oh, their sock game is dope. Maybe if I spent more time shopping for socks, I'd have. My socks suck.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
I think when I just kind of realizing it now, when I get caught in that comparison trap, I think there's a certain thing, there's a gap at that moment in time or something I feel like I'm trying to avoid. Then I feel like when I look at them, I think their life must be so much easier. But then there's a whole mess of complexities that I don't know.
Yeah, and then also to add on to that, I've been told before, like when you get stuck in small problems, if I may call it that, like comparing yourself to other people, that's a small problem. You probably need to play a bigger game in your own life. And I'm talking to myself. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've had a number of things. Like yesterday, I'm like stuck on like, oh my God, blank is engaged. So happy for them, but feel shitty inside. And then it's like, if I'm focused on contributing to others and playing a bigger game with my own career, would that really bother me? And the answer is no. When you're out there really doing your thing, and more so than doing it for yourself, like doing it for other people. Like if I'm focused on, okay, I'm going to reach 100 million ears with my podcast next month because I know it's going to contribute. If I'm focused on that, then am I really, it's actually not possible to go back into my mind and get stuck in my own shit.
Oh yeah. Like instead of, one of the things, the leadership program I was in was like, when you're stuck in your shit, focus out.
Yeah.
Cause it's easy. Like we're too focused in our heads, like the whole classic, get out of your head and fall into your heart.
Ooh, I've never heard that. That's amazing.
That's one of the things we used to say in one of our leadership meetings, because we were so stuck in our head of how it's gonna get done, and we lose focus on like what's happening around us. The thing of what you think you should do versus what the moment needs from you. So does that mean you're looking for a boyfriend, or
yes.
you're not? Okay, so quality guys, quality women, do not say.
Can you please, like, just for me, could you, like, edit some hearts on the screen and make it look like a 90s dating videotape?
Yeah, I'm down
like
to do
Mauricia.
that. So...
You know what I'm talking about? From the Lower East Side.
Are you looking for me? I'm looking for someone. Where can you be?
So, oh my God. Okay, what else do you want to say? Like, what else do you want? What should we ask? She likes healthy food. She makes great coffee. I'm wide awake and wired from this. She's a very, very good listener, and she has a very strong heart. And I'm vouching for her now.
It's so funny because
I'm trying to be your wingman.
That's so sweet.
This podcast took an interesting turn.
I mean, of course. It's okay. I'm gonna go there. It's so funny because I do also interviews for the You Got This Girl app. Mel Ma, she has. If you have an iPhone, You Got This Girl. It empowers women and stuff. And I sometimes do their interviews for them. They'll have like a 20-30 minute interview each month, and they have themes like flow, balance. And so I'm talking to my friend Tresla about flow, and we end up going into like a 10-minute conversation about our periods. And I'm like, this is where it ended up, which is fine. And
Wait,
yeah,
flow as in
it can mean anything.
Flow? Oh, okay.
It just flow, and we talk about flow of energy and flow in your life, and then we just start talking about periods for like
wow.
Yeah.
That is fascinating. Well, I mean,
anyway, love
doesn't
life.
bother me, but like,
we need to, as a society, be able to not be prude about it, because it happens to like 50%, or I don't know how many women there are, 51%.
There's more women than men.
Yeah, like it's just a thing that happens in life, and even I was hesitant to bring that up because there's so much around it, and it's like,
get over it.
Get over it. It's like me not wanting to talk about my feet. So, love life. But the thing is that with love life, I realized I was in a course. We love our courses. And they were having you rate each area of your life and how high you would like that place in your life to be. Like, my finances are at a 4. I want them at a 5. My social life is at a 2.
The domains of your life, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then love life, I was like, I don't really care. And that's when I knew that I was bullshitting, because how am I going to want 5s on a scale of 1 to 5 in every area of my life, but my love life I don't care about? Because I'm so easily excited about career and stuff, but I realized that I had a deep resignation around love life.
Huh. Mm-hmm. I'm just out of curiosity, what do you think is your lack of interest in it?
I don't think it's a true lack of interest. I think it's at that point I didn't, and I easily go to this, I think I wasn't believing that it could work, or that I could meet someone that's really good for me and I'm good for him, and our lives work well together. At the time, I associated it with feeling trapped versus feeling needy. Like, I had all this connotation and subtext around love life that was so disempowering, but I constantly found myself in situationships with guys. And it's like, if situationships.
I've
never
heard of
heard
this.
that.
No,
I did not make it up. I think I got it from a guy I was in a situationship with. It's like something when you really can't put a label on it. You're not committed, but you're like calling each other on Tuesdays and Saturdays.
Okay. Or
you're hanging out every day, but you're not labeling it.
Okay.
Situationship is the label for the non-label. And so, like, there was so much evidence in my life that I want partnership and I want to be with someone. But again, I think I just didn't believe that I could have that, or that what I wanted existed. And I had so much negativity that I needed to release from my ideas around love for me. Because for other people, I easily see it for them.
Oh, I just didn't see it first. Wow, that's fascinating. Like, what do you read? Do you know about the 5 love languages?
Yes. Well, it's funny because there's all this stuff that I had around love, like my career I can just go for and make it happen and believe in it and be romantic about it. But my love life, I was like not wanting to make an effort. And
What about, did you ever catch guys trying to make an effort, or were you just oblivious to it?
Well,
Like, because it wasn't because relationships was so far out of your, not so far, but it wasn't your priority.
I mean, I had an on and off again situationship for 2 to 3 years. Like,
oh, okay.
But he'd never wanted to commit. And so there was something for me to dig deep into. Why is it that I'm attracting guys who don't want to commit? Why am I attracted to them? And, like, that's a really interesting specific thing.
The question was 5, do you
Yep.
have you heard of the 5 love languages?
I read it.
Do you know what your love languages are?
Yeah, it's touch and words of affirmation. Because I figured if somebody said the nicest things and bought me gifts and did acts of services, fixed my whatever, but they never gave me hugs and embraced me, I'd feel unloved.
Ah.
But I could have touch and not have other things and feel way more loved.
Oh,
and then
okay.
words of affirmation is the secondary.
That's good. Yeah, like I freaking love the 5 love languages. I think it was definitely a huge game changer in how I approach relationships, because it's like now it's a matter, because in my previous relationship it was like no matter how I tried to love, it wasn't received because I was loving the way I liked being loved.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, then that was a game changer. Like, not meet them where they're at.
Whoa.
So versus, there's the whole thing of like, oh, you like, I show you I love you, I do this and this, and that my main love language is acts of service, so I do things.
Yeah.
So but it didn't land for the other person. Their other one was quality time.
Oh yeah, quality time. I was missing that one.
So and then for me, whenever we're doing quality time, I was on my phone checking emails from work, which was like where I fucked up at. So this is where, like, again, this being able to, I guess, to be humbled, to see that the way you're approaching it doesn't always work, and then be willing to change things up to make it work is I think for me it was like the game changer of this book. It was fucking amazing. I think one of the things, like, especially now, when whoever I work with now, I ask, what are your love languages? Because then you know how to approach them.
I've never thought of that professionally. That's a great idea.
Because say, like, we're working on set or something, and I just finished filming, you just finished performing or whatever, you just finished directing, your love language is physical touch, so the professional way would be a high five or a pat in the back.
Yeah. Wow, and I get so lit up by like a high five.
Yeah.
And just to say, it's not that like guys have never tried or whatever. It's just, for what I know is good. Like in Los Angeles, I feel like the culture is a little bit less direct with men approaching women. And listen, like, there are guys who've expressed interest in stuff. I just am at the point that if I don't think it's a good match, I'm not, I'm flattered. If I'm being really acknowledged, I'm like, oh my God, thank you. That's a gift. But it doesn't mean that we're a match for each other.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've heard. I think it might be a lot of guys, because for me, when I was growing up in college, in terms of if I wanted to learn how to get a girlfriend outside of my group of friends, because that's generally how it works. New girl comes in the group of friends, and then like, oh, everyone's enamored by her, and I was like, I hated that. So I wanted to learn how to approach girls, and so for I think 3 years in college, like my entire college, like I was going out with friends to learn how to approach girls. So like, this was like during the whole height of the pickup arts, thing. But there is a positive and negative to it. For me, it definitely helped me get out of my shell and deal with a lot of the social anxiety I experienced, because I hated going to clubs. I hated going out. I always thought people were judging me for my hair, my appearance. But going out into the quote unquote field every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, I had to get over that if I wanted to get this goal of like learning how to confidently hold a conversation with a girl, hold a conversation with a group of women or friends, or a group of friends I've never met. And it was a stretch every night, and then accepting the fact that I was going to get no's a lot.
And women,
it's scary.
Because women, I know a lot of women that I know and myself, we deal also with super aggression. Like my brother told me before, because it's sometimes hard to read me if I'm interested in someone, and I can be shy in social situations or with guys, like I can get really bashful, that the guys that make it through are the ultra aggressive ones. So maybe a guy who's more shy might be a little bit scared, or in the middle might be scared, but the guy who's like, ooh, girl, like, you got it going on, let me take you out, blah, 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 is the one who's gonna make it through, and then I'll be like, I'm starved for attention, okay? But sometimes women, it's like we've been so aggressively talked to that it's our own shit. We don't even get the kindness of being approached.
That's what I was told to expect, because they probably have been approached so much aggressively in the wrong way. They're gonna have, I think we called it the bitch shield.
Oh my god.
Because it was to protect themselves from assholes.
But also, what I hope for, and I think it's great that you do that, and what I've appreciated is when a guy, this is a whole own conversation.
Yeah, another podcast episode,
I know, right?
Really.
Which I love, though. Like, I'm down. If a guy, and this is the same thing with career, if he's approaching you with confidence and belief in himself, and is really just acknowledging what he likes about you, or just approaching you and talking to you like a person, I think it can open it up more. And if you're in the right state of mind, like, even like with DMs or whatever, there are guys that'll sometimes be flirtatious, but they'll say something sweet. And at this point in my life, I'm really grateful. Maybe that's what they want or not what they want, but I'm like, thank you. You know, me over here in my PJs at 7 p.m. working my ass off really appreciates this acknowledgement or compliment or whatever.
Yeah. It's so funny you brought up the DMs, because the whole social media culture, everything's so different in terms of dating or networking in general, because it's so easy to just communicate to anyone.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was single for a little bit.
For that, like, 1 month.
Yeah.
I don't even know you. I just know you, like, I've always admired how, like, you're with someone. And so that's where that comment came from.
Yeah. When I was single, I was like, fuck, I gotta start going out again. Mm-hmm. Like, I start doing cold approaches, we called it. Like, you know, like if we see someone in the street, we would actually have to go up to them and cold approach them and actually start a conversation. And I was doing this for a while by myself, trying to get back myself in the field. Like, I would, like, classic 3-second rule: you see a girl you find attractive, you go up to them, and I'm like, and I was trying to, the quote unquote pickup game had changed to be less gimmicky but be more natural about not being a dick or douchey or alpha, quote unquote. And I was more like, hey, saw you over there, just didn't want, like, I gotta go or whatever. I don't remember what I say, but, like, just thought I'd tell you look nice, something like that. But it was like trying to actually, because it's not normal for people to go up and compliment each other. So that's why, but it was scary, but that's what I was doing for a while. Then I discovered, like, not really discovered, I got over my resistance of Tinder and OkCupid, and I started doing that, and that's a whole thing in itself. Like,
I've been swiping lately. I didn't for a long time, and now I'm like, whatever. I'm not meeting guys in public or whatever. I might as well enjoy it and take it with a light heart.
Yeah.
And so I actually met up with someone this week, and I see when things come up, but I know, like, don't expect them. If somebody suddenly unmatches, don't make it mean anything.
Yeah.
Also, don't feel like you have to have a conversation if you're uncomfortable.
Are you on Bumble?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Bumble, because when I was single, I took the pressure off me, because I felt like a lot of the girls...
I know, I hate you have to approach the guy first.
Yeah,
which is like me
this is what,
my
that was me most of the time.
I hate that. I really hate it, but I feel like Bumble feels like a safe in-between.
Because then when you match the guys... Because when I talked to my friends who were on it, and then the girls who I dated, I would always ask, how many matches did you get, and how did they approach you? Because it... In that point, it's really more of a numbers game instead of a like how can you catch their attention? I went to, like, marketing at this point. Like, how can I catch their attention and be different? Because the common thing I knew was guys would always a lot of them would just say hello.
I've done that.
And then they would just be like, I get a lot of this, like, what say something different. So for me, I had to be witty.
Yeah,
a lot.
It helps. But I'm like, I've now started to see, as opposed to 2 years ago, guys are like, just don't open with a generic line. And I'm like, oh my God, that was me until I started being on Bumble and realized how judgmental I was over how guys open a conversation.
Oh, so it flipped.
Oh my God, yes. And so I catch myself in between wanting to say something smart and witty and being like, screw this, I'm starting the conversation because the app won't let them start the conversation. Hello.
See, that's one thing I appreciated about Bumble is, like, it takes for me as someone who was always doing the approaching, I felt the pressure was off.
Yeah.
So, because then she gets to choose, like, on her terms, like, and how she wants to approach it. But then it's kind of nice to hear on the other side, because I've never talked to anyone about the other side of Bumble.
And then the whole time, because I'm not on there for hookups or anything, I'm always like wondering, is he a pervert? I feel like the guys are wondering, is she crazy? And I'm wondering, is he a pervert? And so today he asked me to take like a picture. I did say something about I was still in my PJs, but I did not mean it in a sexy way, I promise. I was like in my zebra onesie on top of an old pair of...
I have a unicorn onesie, so...
We should have done it in those. And he's like,
Dude,
send me a
I'm down.
picture. And now, yes. He's like, send me a picture. And
you sent him a picture of your
no.
zebra onesie.
No, I didn't. I've done
Is
that
this sexy
before.
enough for you?
I know. No, I once. Okay, we haven't had one real like a deep conversation
Oh, so
yet.
there's no real rapport.
There's no real rapport. So I was just like, nope. And then I tried to lighten it up, but like, it's not that cute, but it's cute. But I was just like, don't ask me for a picture.
Yeah, I barely know you.
Right? I don't know, because pictures. I once sent a picture of my foot, like with my sock. This guy I was acquaintances with, he was like, send me a picture, and I'm like, picture of my, like, there's nothing you can do with that, and he sent me a dick pic in return.
Wow, that's bold.
And so I was scarred for life.
That's some people do. I remember.
No, apparently it's a problem he has.
Oh.
Can you not?
Okay. I remember handling a social media account of a mutual friend of ours for her company. Do you know? I think you know what I'm talking about.
No.
Maybe? Cool. I'll keep it at that for now. I'll tell you off camera though.
Okay.
Her social media account consists of very beautiful women, but the thing is, I was handling all the posting, and she was just approving all the posts, and then I just get some of these DMs, and I'm just getting dick pics. I'm like, this is the first time I had ever experienced this, and I was shook.
I've never gotten this on Instagram.
So I got it like a couple times on their Instagram, and I'm like,
sorry, that sucks.
Damn, this is what you go through.
Yeah.
I was disturbed.
Oh my god.
But it's rude, crude or whatever, but it's also bold in a way to put yourself out there to be potentially scrutinized and judged and be put on Reddit.
Or how about this? In person, would you flash somebody?
That's true.
It's similar. I understand you have the buffer of a phone, but your phone is still your personal device. I understand if someone feels like they've been given a go-ahead through flirtation.
Yeah.
I could understand the argument there, but like, I'm sending a picture of a sock. We have no background, nothing. Like that's
oh, she sent me her foot.
Yeah, I feel like
what's up, girl?
Men and women and however you identify, one of the best things I learned around flirtation is to be really mindful of the acceleration and deceleration if you're more interested.
Push pull.
Yeah, notice if somebody's pulling back, you can mirror that space and respect and honor that space.
Yeah, that's one thing I learned a lot when I was doing the whole pickup arts thing. You have to learn how to read the body language, because if she's uncomfortable, you're fucking up. And it's a matter of not just the right line. It's learning how to read how to make them feel comfortable and safe with you.
Yes.
Sorry, you were saying?
No, that was it. I could go I would just be repeating myself. Yeah, I think that's really it.
Yeah, dang, we went from dance to dating, and this is a very interesting...
It's happened in my podcast so many times where I've had I think it's happened less, but it's happened so many times where we start talking about dating and like anything.
That's freaking awesome.
Anything and everything.
One question I kind of wanted to... It just came back about mindset, going back to that topic.
Yeah.
I feel like mindset is a typical thing that say, like, you got to have the right mindset. But how do you think people start developing the right mindset?
Oh, that's such a good question. Okay, how do people... Well, so when I hear that, I think maybe positive mindset. And positive does not mean that you just sugarcoat your life when you're not there, but continuously doing one better. Mm-hmm. And I think immediate access to that. Mindset. Okay, different ways. First of all, the thoughts that you're feeding yourself. What are you listening to? Who are you listening to? And do you feel like you're bigger self with it, or does it make you feel good? Because I think our internal compass, which I refer to, or our gut, will know. It knows, it senses right away if you feel elevated and energized or if you feel low from it. Like gossip might be exciting, but you might find yourself trapped in it and feeling not like your bigger self.
Yeah.
So I think first, like, I started years ago. I remember I started listening to Deepak Chopra. I realized I'm listening to so much, like, there's amazing rap out there, but there's also a lot of ignorant stuff. And I was like, for all the ignorant stuff I'm hearing about hoeing and glorifying money and drugs, let me listen to some Deepak Chopra. And that started shifting my mindset because his words and his thoughts and his energy were elevated. Yeah. And then I believe in do programs. Like, you've done MITT, I've done Landmark, but it could be meditating. But finding something that gives you access to your own roadblocks and lets you have breakthroughs in your life. And not, is it okay that this is a long-winded answer?
Yeah, go for it, yeah. It's
and
all you.
I was talking about it with a friend yesterday about how self-help books, or I like to call it self-development, there can be something icky about it. And I think it's when it becomes about like the self-help and the self-development versus actually taking your lessons and applying them into your own life. And so access for that is when things are not working out, taking a moment, sitting back, and that gives you access to something that doesn't work in your life, whether it's your way of being, whether it's the people you have. So far we have who and what you're listening to, self-development programs. I like them better than, I think they're more in-depth than a book, but a book can do it, or meditation, finding what clicks with you. And then having a daily dose of it, a weekly dose of it. Mindset. It's who you surround yourself with. It doesn't mean throw your friends in the gutter. It just means like start paying attention to who feels elevated to you. Who do you get to be bigger self with? Does bigger self make sense, you think, to people who haven't done what's on like? I
think bigger self makes sense. Like there's the more like closer to your higher potential.
Yes, closer to your higher potential. And not being I'm not trying to be self-righteous about it or anything. Because I know that sometimes, like, we've done programs, sometimes there are words that will be used within the programs, but when you use them outside, it can sound jargony. Yeah,
because one thing that we definitely learned in the programs is words are very powerful, especially how you use them with others and with yourself. Yeah. It can really help with how you view certain things. And one thing I really liked that you said was, like your higher potential. There's something I remember I loved saying before was called the integrity gap. There's your higher potential, what you can actually do, and what you end up doing for real. You have the potential to help someone. You have the potential to, start that business, eat a healthier meal, but then there's what you actually do. And then in that is the integrity gap, because which leaves space for you to feel icky, sad, depressed, or upset at yourself. So when we perform at our higher potential and make that choice aligned with it, we kind of level ourselves up. Yeah. If that's making sense.
Yeah, I think like one of the first words that made a difference for me, it's when I started doing yoga, and it was within the branding of the studio. They had, I think, excellence in there. And so when I didn't want to wake up in the morning, this word in my head, excellence, would pop in, and then I would get out of bed because I wanted to be excellent. And I have times when I feel motivated. I have the mindset of wanting to, like, where I could just scratch everything off the slate right now and start over and do better in a big way. And there are times more often where it's about the baby steps. Let me just do slightly better than I normally would, because over time it adds up.
Yeah, I love that, because people think they have to do something grand to make the progress, but it's like the famous journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Yes. And I like saying a lot, progress is progress no matter how small. 1 out of 1,000 is better than 0 out of 0.
And then getting really specific, my own mindset, I think, because this is super like the conversations I have with myself, is am I on my purpose? Am I in my journey? And I use what's not working, because trust, especially if you're going out of your comfort zone, things will not work. If you're operating at a new level, things will not work, because your life is designed and you are operating on the way of exactly how things have been going, which is not bad. But when all of a sudden, if you go to a different country, you have new climate, you need to expand into the new space. So you're going to notice if all of a sudden you go to warm weather, from warm weather to cold weather, you learn the importance of wearing a coat, or, preparing for having an umbrella, So I constantly am thinking, am I doing my best? My access to everything is, how do I feel? I started making things more about, because I think like the macro, the out there, the am I in my purpose, which I just said, am I contributing to people? Could I be better? Could I do better? But then also I go back to how I feel, because if I feel crappy, like, yes, granted, things will happen, like, before, there's something with a client, I'm like. But if I feel icky, that's my experience of life. So my health and wellness, sometimes physical practices, like, I know now when I need more sleep. Sometimes, like, I'll be really upset and stuff, and I have to just ask myself, did I eat enough? Did I sleep enough? Yeah,
you just reminded me of something, because I shared recently on Instagram, something I learned from anger management is HALT. Never deal with serious things, or never get into a serious conversation if you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. So and it's like if your basic needs aren't met, because I remember reading from the Daily Stoic, it doesn't matter how wise you are or how smart you are, if your basic needs aren't met, you're not going to perform at your highest level. You're going to be hangry, you're going to be triggered, you're going to be a little bit more emotional in reacting instead of responding. I
think it was last year or the year before, I was in such a state of despair on my birthday. It was like, I was crying, I was having these crazy, like, thoughts, just things that I don't even normally think. I'm like scared to say it because I like to be grounded, and I was just a hot mess. And then I went to the chiropractor, because a lot of the time when I'm super emotional, it's hormones can be off in your body. It could be a subluxation in your spine. He adjusted me and I suddenly felt better.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that so crazy? But it's because also it has to do with your endocrine system and the distribution of your hormones. A hormonal imbalance can mean that you feel utterly depressed or angry or sad. And so I've also learned to those basics take care of.
In terms of handling those basics, you just mentioned going to the chiropractor. What else other ways do you take care of the endocrine
I'm so obsessed with this. Well, can I just the overall system?
Yeah.
So I go right now, I do acupuncture once to twice a week. I try to do that, I don't like the word try, but I attempt to go to the chiropractor once a week, but if not, I'm going every other week. I find that I need to do something active 3 to 4 times a week, and that's something that I got stuck in. Like in the summer, I'm working so much, I'm choreographing so much. I was so hard on myself that I wasn't in dance class, but when I took a step back and looked at my life, I was constantly moving. So my level of activity can shift. So I'm active. I eat 80% clean, 20% not clean, but I'm usually putting good things in my body.
I've seen the meals you make, man.
Thank you. But I found like what my balance is with that. I hydrate a lot, and then sleep. I prioritize sleep. It doesn't mean I'm always getting tons of sleep, but I'm doing my best to get 8 to 9 hours a night.
Super important.
Yeah, so chiropractor, acupuncture, sleep, hydration. I fall off of this, but ideally I'm getting body work, massage therapy once a month. That's the ideal. Even better than that would be every other week, because I hold a lot of tension in my muscles. I use this all a lot, but at the bare minimum, I have all of the above. And then lastly, spending meaningful social time with people, meaningful human interaction.
That's something I need to work on.
And that's when I started all of these things. Listen, my highs and lows in any given day can be like this. But I'm the happiest that I've ever been, and I attribute it to this because I started looking at balance, having balance in my life. And when I prioritized balance, I could see what's imbalanced in my life. And so instead of just focusing on career, I'm focusing on well-being because that's out of balance. And then I found these certain things keep me in balance. So balance, I would actually say, is the primary mindset I even forgot. And meaningful human interaction, it usually means sharing a meal with someone, this type of conversation. Like, I was upset not at you. I was in a different state when you saw me earlier today. And here we are sitting down talking and sharing, and I'm in a whole different state. Yeah. And so that's been a big game changer. That's freaking awesome. I love how you said the importance of balance. And because a lot of people end up going like hardcore into one, like tunnel vision, one thing. Which I've done. And I think it's also like, I think almost relative if it works for you and your ecosystem of life and friends and family. If you're okay with focusing on one thing, that's cool. But most people, it's important to be able to check in with certain things, because if you're unhappy on one thing, it's probably going to bleed on to the rest of it. It's also a law of nature. Like, our bodies have to keep homeostasis or else we die. There needs to be the ecosystem, which is in trouble, but things need to be in a certain equilibrium and balance. Otherwise they don't survive. Dance careers, if you're overworking your body, not resting enough, you're going to have a shortened career.
Yeah.
It will work for so long.
Yeah. All right. I recently asked this question to Shaboos right before this, and I was thinking about it on the drive. What do you want people to say about you when you're gone?
I knew you were going to ask that. I mean, I knew it just now. Oh, man. Okay.
You knew what, that specific question? Or was like something
it was something when you're gone. Like, what do you want, what do I want people to, one more time, say about me?
About you.
Disclaimer, this is what I'm coming up with in the moment. I don't know if it's my ultimate answer.
It'll change.
She made me feel better about myself and see something even bigger in myself than what I could see.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, because I've been curious lately, like, what are people going to say about me when I'm gone? Because it's like, because we're talking about Maya Angelou quote, like, people are going to remember how you made them feel over what you accomplished. So now I'm curious, like, what would people say? So I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, thank you. I want people to have a form of they felt more joyous, but also they felt expanded, because I feel my purpose is to have people feel understood, connected with, and to be even more motivated and see something for themselves, because we can see things for each other that we don't see for ourselves.
That's so true.
Like, I'm hell-bent on having people live even a better life.
Yeah.
Because I don't mean in a self-righteous way, because I want to be of contribution to people, and that's how I see myself, being able to be of contribution.
So where can people find you, stalk you, and see pictures of your foot?
I'm addicted to Instagram. Hi, my name's Galit, and I'm addicted to Instagram. I also wait, just one second. Oh, I found this ear stud on the floor. I've been looking for it.
Good
Instagram. Instagram at GoGalit, GOGALIT. They took down like all my dance footage almost, but all the
Instagram's
other
cracking
stuff,
down with the music, man.
So now it's gonna probably look like she says she dances, but all I see is crop tops and fitness.
Liar.
GoGalit, GOGALIT. The podcast Instagram, where we do our best to post with all the episodes, at Dancespeak Podcast. The podcast can be found on iTunes and Google Play Music. Just type in Dancespeak. It's one word, DANCESPEAK. I'm on Facebook, but I don't check it that much. And my website, which Emeroy and your team created, gogalit.com, or you can just do my full name, galitfriedlander.com. Is that everything?
That's pretty much everything. Everything
Also,
she just mentioned is going to be the link in the description. Yeah, if you want to work with her as your coach. So
whether it's fitness, whether it's dance and choreography. I also don't advertise this, but I have a full background in coaching. So I have like accountability coaching client that I have, who she's been making more money doing more in her life and everything since we started. I know. I feel like there's a lot of space for coaching now, but anything you want to contact me for via email is Galit, GALIT, dance, DANCE, lander@gmail.com. Is that everything? Anything else? My address. No. My
her social
address.
security number, her phone number. I'm just kidding.
My credit card. This is my Amazon wish list.
You'd be surprised what people will do with your wish list. I know I have a friend who's a Instagram influencer, and she has her Amazon wish list on public, and they're just buying her stuff. So I'm just saying. So that's all. Everything mentioned to connect with Galit is going to be the link in the description, whether on Spotify, iTunes, if you're watching this on YouTube, on all the other channels. I'm going to be sharing this. Other than that, that's it. I appreciate you, Galit, for taking time out of your day to be on this podcast and take us on a journey of interesting conversations. If you guys like this video, make sure you hit like, subscribe, share this with friends who you think might benefit from it, whether you're watching it or listening to it, actually. Other than that, I appreciate you guys, love you guys, and I will see you guys soon. Peace.
That's a really nice button, and if you choose to keep this, I want to acknowledge you, because you're always constantly creating and continuing with what it is that you're making in this world. So even just seeing the way that you've been, could we say your media company, your creative company, I love that years later you're still doing it, which means so much in this world where people are stopping and going, starting something and not following through. And as someone, we've worked together and you've helped me with content and all that stuff, I love that you're so committed to your vision paradox, and just the way that you came here and brightened up my day. So thank